Hey guys, it's Jessie and welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another video. And today we have a super duper fun one because we are doing something I've done, I think it was about 8 months or so on my channel, so a long while ago. But we are doing another Beauty Bay video, and in today's video we are going to be ranking all of my Beauty Bay palettes. So as you guys can tell, I have a lot. I believe there's 12 here. Yeah, 12 palettes. Lovely. There's 12 palettes here, including 3 of the mini palettes, and today I'm just going to be ranking them all for you guys. I'm going to put these down because they are super duper heavy. Like I said, I did this video a while ago and I definitely think my ranking has changed quite significantly. And yeah, if you guys watch this channel, you guys know I love Beauty Bay. I've done so much content with their palettes and everything, and every time they come up with a new one, I tend to do a first impressions and review. So yeah, really do love them. If there's any more content you want to see with these palettes, do let me know, and I will definitely get around to doing some more. I am going to basically be going through kind of just on how much I use them, how much the colour story appeals to me, not really on quality because all the qualities pretty much the same besides maybe like 2 or 3, but yeah, I'm just gonna be going through like that. And yeah, without further ado, let's just get straight into it. Okay, I can definitely say now this ranking has changed so much since I last did it. I feel like I've gone so rogue with some of these, but just basing it off how much the colour story appeals to me now and how much I've actually used these palettes and how often I reach for them. I do want to preface this by saying Beauty Bay is my favourite brand. If I really didn't like their palettes, I would declutter them. Every one of them is fine. Probably the bottom 3 don't have the best quality, but besides that, really high quality, like favourite brand. So I do love all these palettes, but they just do go in a certain order for me. So in 12th place we have the new Romantics palette. So this is one that's been discontinued. I managed to pick this up at the start of this year. I think they just randomly had one back in stock for some reason, but as you can see from the palette, I've barely used it. To be honest, I think I might have used it twice, which I know is very bad, but this is just what the palette looks like here. So we've got a very kind of pink red focused palette, perfect for like Valentine's Day. Obviously this is their Valentine's release, I think in 2021 maybe, but yeah, I think I've used this one twice for 2 full looks, which is very bad, but I do want to play around with it some more. But the shimmers in here I don't think are quite up to their like super reflective foiled standards. They're not like super glittery or anything. They're nice metallics, but they're nothing crazy compared to the kind of well-known Beauty Bay formula that's much more popular. So unfortunately this is going to be in 12th place, but it is a gorgeous palette nonetheless. Then in 11th place we have the palette that started it all for me. It is the Nikkie Tutorials Beauty Bay palette. This was my first ever Beauty Bay palette that I got, and I absolutely adored it when I got it. It was probably the nicest palette I had at the time. I have removed the shade Ivy just because it was leaking a little bit, but this is what the palette looks like here. I'm a little bit squished for space, I can't lie, in this new setup, but this is what the palette looks like. The only reason it is a little bit low is because a couple of the shades are a little bit harder to blend, and overall it is a little bit of a kind of random colour story. I think it's not the most cohesive in my eyes, but overall the shades are still pretty and they do still perform well. The shades like All In and Pride are 2 of my favourites. Pride is so pretty, but yeah, really high quality palette. And I think this like is on sale for like £5 at the moment because they're trying to clear stock. Then we have the Beauty Bay Sunset Horizons palette in number 10. This is another one of their older palettes, and this is probably the last one where the formula isn't fully amazing all the way through. Overall it is a nice formula, and as you can see I did work on this for I think a 1 week 1 palette earlier in the year, so I do have 3 pans in here and a good few dips. This is funnily enough probably the palette that looks the most used, and it isn't one of my favourites, but overall it is nice. This shade up here, Mirage, is really pretty, and Burst looks really nice on the lid. Again, you can see the kind of putty formula by the way that everything is a little bit dented in, but overall this is a really pretty palette. Just these kind of dark tones down here I don't think I would ever use, so that kind of limits it for me personally, and that's why it's a little bit lower, I think, along with the kind of slight quality issue. Then we have one of the ones that came out this year, I believe, and it's our first mini palette. This was a much higher last time I did this ranking, which is so funny to me, but this is the Earthy palette, the 9 pan that they came out with, kind of to replace the Wilderness. This is just what this one looks like. They do have have a 12 pan and a 48 pan, I believe, or maybe a 16 pan and a 48 pan. But this is just what it looks like. These shades are the same quality as their big palettes, even though they are in the kind of old classic Beauty Bay palette style with the little bees on it. This shade in particular is super pretty, but if you want a green look, this is a great little mini palette I would highly recommend. The only reason is that this is so low is because I don't do green looks all too often, especially now that I'm at uni. I have not particularly reached for this one, but overall it is really pretty, and you do have quite a variety in tones of green in here, which I like, so quite a big like different mix of looks that you can do if you want to. Then I believe we're in 8th place. This one is going to be a bit controversial. We have the Wilderness palette, because for me, I just don't really reach for it too much. It's got one of my favourite shades in here. One of my favourite shades that Beauty Bay has ever done is this shade here, Fossil. It's a really gorgeous kind of neutral bronzy gold colour, and it's just so pretty on the lids. It looks absolutely stunning. But yeah, unfortunately, I just don't reach for this one all too much. It's a very nice colour story, but I don't really go for the reds at the bottom personally. My favourite is actually this kind of more neutral corner down here. The greens are lovely, and I think at the time it was super unique, which I also enjoyed. But yeah, I think for me the only reason why it's a bit less exciting now is just because I've seen it so much, but overall it is a very high quality palette, and I have no complaints. If I had to pan this, I definitely would not mind. Obviously it'll be a bit difficult to do colourful looks every day, but really pretty shades in here, and I think this is kind of what first like really put Beauty Bay kind of on the market for like really high quality eyeshadows. So then in 7th place we have their newest palette in their kind of like square release, or like it's not really square release, 20 pan release. That is the Dark Fantasy palette. This a year ago I would not have liked at all, but this has a good amount of shimmers in here, which I really like, because Beauty Bay shimmers are just the best parts of their palettes. And the shade up here, Transmission, is super pretty. Dusk, all these like tones down here, and I do think this is more of a unique colour story, definitely very kind of a colourful grunge, which is lovely. I'm very interested to see what they're going to come out with next, because I feel like they've done so many different colour stories now. But this is what the palette looks like. We've got some really nice slightly duochromy shades in here, but mainly some of their just kind of classic gorgeous shimmer formula. As I mentioned, I did a first impression on this along with all the other palettes that have come out since I've been doing YouTube, and I will link as many of them as I can in the cards or in the comments down below. There'll also be like a Beauty Bay playlist that you can check out. But yeah, this is a very pretty palette, definitely very inspiring to me, I think. I've only played around with it maybe 3 times or so, not too many because I've only had it recently, but overall I do really enjoy it, and I think it's quite a unique one. In 6th place, just missing out on the top 5, this one I would not expect it to be this high because I've barely used it, which is so bad. But we have the Age of Opulence. I really want to use this one a lot more than I have. I've just barely reached for it, but this has got some really nice kind of royal tones in here. I am obviously drawn to the purples and the golds. I love a neutral gold and I love a purple, so this is a really pretty palette, and I definitely need to play around with it a bit more. I think this holiday season I'm really going to try and make an effort to, because the blue shades in here are also quite unique and quite pretty, but you could definitely make something more neutral, as well as obviously a really gorgeous kind of purpley blue royal look. This is a stunning palette and I definitely need to use this more, but yeah, that is just missing out on the top 5. Then in 5th place we have another one of their slightly newer palettes, and that is the New Mood palette. This came out this summer, I believe, and this is what it looks like. So it's kind of just an interesting take on a rainbow palette, and I think it's really pretty. It's got some more kind of like muted tones, which are some of my favourite colours, like this pink, this orange, and this kind of like periwinkly blue. I think they are such nice tones of those colours, really pretty. This one actually has a lot of duochromes in here, so the shades Intimate, Euphoric, Free, Inspired, and I don't think Creative is, but Serene are all duochromes, really pretty. I don't know if you can see the flips in the mirror, sometimes that can be how you show flips, but like the top one is a peach to orange, then we've got a green to kind of reddy brown, a blue to purple, and then these ones are white to blue and white to pink. So super stunning palette. Again, I definitely want to reach for this one more as well. I feel like I have too many eyeshadow palettes to divide all my time up equally, but this is a really gorgeous one, and I definitely want to play around with this one a bit more. Again, very inspiring. It looks a little bit clustered at first, but I think you can split it up quite nicely and do a lot of really pretty looks. So yeah, really excited about that one, and I find that quite inspiring. So that's going in number 5. Then in number 4, I believe this was quite low down last time, but I've actually been reaching for this one so much more than I would have expected, and that is the Midnight palette. So this is kind of a partner palette to the Earthy palette that I mentioned before, and this is just what this one looks like here. So it's got a nice mix of blues and purple, and I didn't used to like blue, but now I've been doing a lot more blue looks, and I feel like I've been reaching into this palette for kind of additional shades. It's a lovely companion palette as well as being able to use by itself. As you can see, this lilac shade I've used so much it's basically rubbed off the B on it, but yeah, really pretty. This shade here, Gleam, is absolutely stunning. This kind of like light bluey lilac color, so gorgeous, and I really want to do another look with just this palette, but overall I do actually reach into this one a lot more than I would have expected that I did, because I was debating even picking this one up because I knew I was going to pick up the green one, but this was kind of like a more spur of the moment one, and I'm so glad I did because I actually use it so much more now. So then for the top 3, in 3rd place, I believe this was my favourite last time, but I have not used it. It's so bad. I've got so many palettes and I've been like randomly generating in my projects to focus on. I just don't really get to focus on ones that I haven't rolled in, but that is the Jade Thirlwall X Beauty Bay What's Your Sign Hunt palette. This is the biggest one that I own from them and probably one of the biggest palettes I own. It is obviously a £42 palette, and although it looks like it's got a load of different random colours, it's kind of split into a warm and cool tone. But what I like about this is it's super high quality with a huge variety of shades. You really can kind of do anything on this palette, and it's a little bit overwhelming but overall quite inspiring. I haven't even like played with all the shades in here. It's so sad. I actually really need to kind of focus on this one for like a good month or so and then just properly get to use it. But it is really pretty. I believe it came out like last October, so it's been a while, but I really enjoy this one, and definitely I feel like this is a trend in this video. It's just me saying I need to play with it more, but really do need to play with these palettes more because they are some of my favorite formulas, but I just am too busy doing other panning things. But yeah, really love this one and super excited to play with that. So then for our top 2, this next one is no surprise, it's always in my top, and it's quite an unpopular one, but it's the Love Notes palette. This is this gorgeous kind of pinky purple color story. If you guys know, I love purple, so I love these tones down here. Pillow Princess and Spark are stunning, as well as Candlestick, and these pinks are really nice too, although I haven't used them on my eyes too often. Purple is my favourite colour, and in terms of eyeshadow, it's probably going to be purple and green or blue that I wear the most in terms of like colours on my eyes besides neutrals, and this is just a stunning purple palette. It's got the incredible formula as always from Beauty Bay, so yeah, really do love this one and think it's very underrated. So then my number 1 favourite palette from Beauty Bay, this is the one I use the most often, and I do use this one actually quite frequently. This was pretty low down in my ranking last time, and it's kind of surprised me that it's this high up, but like when I actually think about it, I do use it the most, and is potential for a pan that palette next year, I think. And yeah, I didn't really like it before because I thought it was quite cool toned, but overall I really enjoy it now, and that is the Golden Age palette. So this came out with the Age of Opulence last year, and this is just what the palette looks like. It's a lovely neutral 6 pan palette, and obviously it just looks like this. So you've got kind of 4 really pretty gold shimmers, a kind of darker shimmer, 3 crease shades, and a lid setting shade. This actually works as a crease shade for me. It's getting a little bit washed out. I'll just turn off the light really quick so you can like actually see what the palette looks like. But that is the palette here. Obviously I need the lights because otherwise my lighting's not so great, but this is just what the palette looks like in natural light. So really pretty. As you can see, I've got 2 pans in here and a good few dips. This is one of my favorites, and I just really love the shades in here. I didn't used to like cool tones, and that's why I think I didn't like these ones, because they are very much a neutral colours. This, rather than being kind of warm leaning, which I was used to palettes being, this is definitely very neutral leaning with just kind of more warm shimmers. But overall I love this one and I think it's so stunning. I always take it with me if I need just a little palette. It's perfect for like a night out palette or just day to day, and yeah, definitely a top one. And yeah, I am thinking about doing it as my pan that palette next year, which is super exciting. But yeah, that is my ranking of all my Beauty Bay palettes, my updated version. I really hope you guys did enjoy this video, and if you did, don't forget to give it a like down below. Go check out my last video on this so you can see how my rankings compare. But yeah, if you like this video, don't forget to give it a like down below, hit subscribe, turn the bell to join a little club, make sure you turn on all notifications, then you'll be notified every single time I post a new video. If you want to watch my other videos, there'll be 2 on the screen now to pick from, as well as a load linked up in the cards from earlier. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!